All right. It's that time. It's time for Beyond Sight and Sound. Let's do this.
Are you looking for a high-quality beach and sand scoop? Are you trying to take your hunting to the extreme? How about an American-based company that stands behind their product and everything they sell? Then check out our friends over at XTREME Scoops. John has been making scoops for some time now and makes a quality beach and sand scoop to take your hunting to the next level. XTREME Scoops recently released their new sand shredder that works great in the water and on the beach. And if you're a new Equinox user, you may want to check out his Surfmaster X3 that can trap those small targets you new Equinox users are finding out there. XTREME Scoops' company approach is let's do it right. So do it right, buy it once, and go to the extreme. XTREMEScoops.com. That's XTREME scoops.com. Caution. Please do not operate motor vehicles or power equipment while under the influence of this show. Listening to this show could cause side effects such as bouts of laughter, violent binges of cabin fever, and even dreams of silver and gold. Please be advised. Now that the fine print is out of the way, on with the show. All right, the fine print's out of the way, and it's time to roll with the show. We're back, and we're live once again. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, metal detecting and treasure hunting radio for all the really cool digging people out there. And when I look into the chat, I don't know how it's reflecting on everyone else's screens, but it looks like you made it into the door first there, Barb. So, kudos to you. I see Bills are in, Mark, Mike, Ed, Fred, a lot of people dropping into the chat. So, welcome to everyone. Welcome aboard. Bob. And I guess from what I'm seeing in the chat as well, there's a few people dropping some birthday wishes in there. Apparently, somehow or another, they found out it was my birthday. I wonder how that happened. Well, belated. It was yesterday, so I made it through. Anyway, links in the description. Our friends over at Shooters and Prospectors, Chuck Smalley, the man with the plan, the dealer of choice. Make sure and throw them a like over on Facebook if you haven't already. And if you're looking for the next machine, he is a multi-line dealer. MineLab XP, Nokta Macro, Garrett, Detector Pro, and many other items. Give him a call. Our friends over at XTREME Scoops, Brute Magnetics, DETECTEES.com. Ken, Mark, Darth, Buddy, and the gang doing a great job over there. Also, the links to our friends at XP Team USA, Facebook group, website, podcast every other Friday. Our friends at River Sticks Outdoors on YouTube, and our friends over on All Metal Militia on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget and check out their pinpointer giveaway that is still currently running to the best of my knowledge. And then at the the other links we have to mention in there are also 2 links. One to Steve Zazulyk's website, Zazulyk.com. And the other one is the direct link to where you can purchase his new book on Amazon, which is now shipping. It's now available. And that's kind of what brought us here tonight. We've actually got him on with us tonight, my friend, your friend, Steve Zazulyk, to talk about his new book, TheRingFinder. And, hey, who better qualified to talk about finding rings than Steve? So let's get him in here, too. How's it going tonight, Steve?
I'm good, Josh. Thanks for inviting me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. We've kind of had this set up for a while now, and just kind of waiting for the book to be available to ship and everything. I know it was available for pre-orders around the beginning of the month, but it looks like it is now listing as ready to ship on Amazon.
Yeah, so on Amazon.com, on Amazon.ca, which is in Canada, they can't get it until next week. It's really weird, but because I guess Amazon is more USA prominent, Amazon has its own mind, and they can kind of decide when things happen. But, yeah, if you're in the States and you're on Amazon.com, you can get my book.
Hey, I was on there last night and saw, I don't know, I guess editorial reviews, publisher reviews, something like that, because I did see a comment from Butch Holcomb from American Digger, comment from Bo We Met, high remarks from the comments that I seen, and not only high remarks from the comments that I seen there, I noticed last week, I believe it was, Fred had posted up on the Beyond Sight and Sound Facebook group that he was currently reading your book, and it even made the comment of, yeah, it's great information now if it could just teach us all to be as nice as Steve is.
I know, wasn't that the nicest post? I was like, I am going to send that guy $20.
Right, the check's in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Yeah, so it's been quite a journey with this book, and I'm to say I'm like excited about it coming out is an understatement. I'm really, really happy that it's coming out, and it's been a lot of work. And so far, the readers that have gotten the book are really enjoying it. Thank God.
Right? Yeah, there you go. Well, and I know from, and I'm sure you do too, from speaking with other authors, because I know you know people as well that have authored some books, and you've kind of heard from them the labor of love that goes into it, so to speak, because this isn't something that happens overnight. And even in your case, you've been working on this project for, a little over a year now, I believe.
Yeah. I think I started writing a little over a year ago, but when you're writing a book, this is my first book. I mean, you know that I write for American Digger, and I write articles, I write columns, I do other types of writing, but it is a whole different animal when you're writing a book. And with this particular book, because it's my passion, I wanted to write it in a way that I would want to read it. Let's say I was on the other side of the counter buying the book. I wanted to write a book that was going to, cut through basically all the crap and get right to the nuts and bolts of this whole ring finding thing. So, and I didn't make it a very thick book because, quite frankly, I don't think people have time or really want to sit down and read a big, long novel. So I made it very readable. You can read it within 2 hours, no problem. And it's very concise and to the point. And I'm actually getting a lot of feedback about that, where people are like, thank God, I don't have to read all this other stuff that's not necessary. So my method to my madness seems to be turning out.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm just looking at the details last night. I think we're looking at somewhere around 8.5 by 5 for dimensions and 112 pages.
Yeah, and then we've got diagrams in the book. We've got pictures, obviously some of the pictures of my finds, and there's step-by-step. It's a step-by-step guide. There's a lot of stuff throughout the book that I think people will really appreciate.
Oh, I'm sure they probably would. And this is something, I mean, did you yourself, being, that you've written articles before, you've done other writing, did you even kind of take into account before you went into this and actually realize the amount of work this was going to be? Or did you start in on it and you're going, oh man, this is tough?
It's like diving off a diving board into a pool. Once you leave the board, Josh, there's no going back. Right,
you got to finish it.
You got to finish it, yeah. So, and yes, I when I first started writing, I'm like, oh my God, like this is intense. But to be quite honest with you, I really enjoyed doing it. It was awesome because I got to go through kind of like everything I do and think about it. Sometimes you don't think about the way you do things. You just kind of do it naturally. So It made me take that step-by-step process. Look at everybody saying A on the, oh my God. Do I say
A? I didn't see that.
I am Canadian, eh?
So exactly.
Anyways, the process was it was great for me. It's actually, to believe it or not, writing that book has made me a better ring finder. And I know that sounds weird, but I've been able to like really think about the process and put it down in point form and realize, wow, this is really how you do this. There's no other book out there that's been written yet to do a step-by-step guide like this for ring finding. It's the first one of its kind.
Well, and that makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it, because like you said, you really sat down and kind of thought things through, where when you're going out on a ring hunt, you're focused on the task at hand, and you're probably not thinking about it a whole lot. You've been through this before. You grab your gear, you go, you find the location, and if things are successful and it all pans out, you find the ring, it's a happy day and all of that. But with writing the book and trying to go through and put everything in step by step, I'm sure, you were definitely a thorough hunter before, but maybe with writing the book, like you said, it's made you a better ring finder, you think, because possibly now you're a little more methodical about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening. So, so the whole idea of this book is just so anybody that's interested in ring finding is, it's a great place for them to go to. And really, I have to admit, I have had a few people say to me, wow, like you didn't hold back at all in this book. Like you kind of let everybody know everything. Are you sure that was a good idea? And I'm like, why not?
Well, realistically, I mean, we see your posts. I share a number of your posts. You do very, very well with what you do. But even with all of the stuff that you find, there's so much out there. We're never going to find it all. Exactly.
That's exactly how I feel. Like when people are trying to keep stuff to themselves, I'm like, really? There is so much out there. Like if you decide to go find rings for a client, let's call them a client, you can keep yourself so busy. It's incredible. I have kept very, very busy ring finding. And then if you just decide to go ring finding for yourself, just to go find like rings that have lost their owners and you decide to go out and find those, this book is perfect for that. And there is so many rings out there. As you know, we've got friends all over that have been doing metal detecting for much longer than I have. And I mean, I know people that have found 4,000 or 5,000 rings.
Right. And that may be just the good ones.
Yeah, when I say rings, I mean just gold. I'm not talking about silver or anything else. When I say I have found a certain amount of rings, we're just talking like precious metal rings, like gold and platinum. Things that are. I'm not saying, and silver. I'm not saying other costume type jewelry isn't worth anything, because a lot of the stuff, it's incredible. People will have, types of costume jewelry that's very sentimental to them, and they want you to find it, and they're willing to pay like anything to get it back.
Yes, just because of what that item represents, the memories that it holds for them. But even all that aside, if you're out, say like, Steve just goes out dive detecting for just a mental health kind of day. I just want to relax. I'm not on the clock trying to find someone else's ring. I'm just out there for fun. And you find some of these costume pieces and things of that nature. Some of them, there's actually a high collector market for.
Oh yeah, there's a very high collector market, especially if you notice on my Facebook page or on my Instagram dive detecting, you will see a lot of the stuff that I find is from the early 1900s. That's kind of like when I go out to find stuff like for Steve out of enjoyment. That's what I really like, all the old stuff, because it's just so interesting to me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if I remember right, one of your kind of favorite niches, so to speak, is you like the old toy cars and things of that nature, the old toy figures.
Oh yeah, I love them. Like from the 30s and 40s, they're incredible. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, Josh, but did you see that Navajo bracelet I found?
I believe so.
I just posted it. Like stuff like that I love. So like ring finding, like the book will teach you how to ring find. It will teach you how to advertise yourself and how to use a detector, and how to distinguish the sound of gold, and it's a step-by-step guide to literally being able to do that, meet your client, do that in a professional way, go to the site, use the techniques and tricks and techniques and tips that I put in the book to actually find the ring, and then get your gratuity. Or if you're the type of person that just wants to do it out of the goodness of your heart, you can do that too. It doesn't necessarily mean this book is written for everybody to try and make money. You can decide how you want to do it yourself, and you might not want to go out and find rings, but you can use these techniques from the book to find all kinds of things.
I would say that's fairly accurate, yeah, because many of the skills that we use in recovering lost items for people kind of translate over to when we're out there just for the fun of it.
Yeah, and I mean, who doesn't like to find a gold ring, buddy?
Right? Yeah, I mean, I know I sure do get a kick out of seeing them come out of the water or the ground. Especially if they've got diamonds attached to them.
Yeah, a little ice once in a while is certainly nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't complain about that at all. I mean, the last one, I think I had the machine on for maybe 30 seconds and had a 10-karat gold and diamond wedding band.
Ooh. Okay, so tell me what your best ring you've ever found was, Josh.
The best one I've ever found? I don't know. I probably don't have those, because the best ones I find always seem to go back to where they belong.
Yeah, so, like, can you remember, like, the nicest ring you found for somebody, or, like, was it that 10K you were talking about?
Well, surprisingly enough, that 10K was, that was a freebie for me. I wasn't out on a ring hunt or anything. I just, I was going to go out and hunt with a newcomer to the hobby and kind of share some tips and tricks with them and stuff like that, and told them, said, you know, we see advertisements from manufacturers that they're always showing the nice jewelry and stuff like that that's found, but the reality of it is we dig a lot of trash out there too. We don't go out there every day and pop a diamond ring. It just doesn't happen. And sure enough, 30 seconds after I turned the machine on, I was like, honest, it doesn't happen like this every time. So that one was a freebie for me. I wasn't looking for a ring. It just came up, and unfortunately there were no identifying marks to return it to anyone, and it had been there for a while. It was a vintage cluster setting, so that ring had probably sat in the ground for, I'm going to guess, maybe even as long as 15 or 20 years before I ran across it.
Right. But don't I remember a story about a Christmas class ring?
Yeah, you know, I do kind of like that one. I had, the local paper had done an article on me for returning a class ring, and somebody read that article, and they wanted to know if I could locate their son's class ring that was lost, I think, 6 years prior to that. I told him, I said, well, I'll give it a shot. So we went out on Father's Day that year, and one of those classic examples of, you know, it has to be right in this area, which, you know, usually is not the case. And it took a couple hours, but I did find it, and they asked that I kept everything quiet because they wanted to surprise him. And what they did is they kept a hold of that thing the rest of the year, and they wrapped it up for him as a Christmas gift. And they were kind enough to record everything so that I could see his reactions as well. It really kind of threw him for a loop at first, because he's going on about how it looks just like his. And, you know, lo and behold, surprise to him, not only did it look just like his, that's because it was his. We've got a caller on the line. How's it going, Fred?
Hi, hey, Josh and Steve. I figured I had to call in and wish Steve the best of luck with his book. I've read the book, and I've reread certain chapters, and it's really done well. And I particularly like his information on qualifying a ring search call and, you know, making sure that you're not on a wild goose chase. I think he did a real good job detailing that. And that's very helpful because, you know, I think that's being, you know, I do ring searches. I don't do anywhere near the number that Steve does, but, you know, I found all the information to be very helpful. I haven't done a ring search since I read it, but I'm going to employ some of those techniques, especially, you know, negotiating your situation, you know, if it's far away, you know, pre-pricing your service and so forth. Do you find you do that on all your ring searches, Steve? Do you qualify that type of a thing?
Yeah, and let me just rewind the tape a bit for everybody. Fred is a great ring finder, and we talk all the time, and it really makes me happy that someone who is a very, very good ring finder has read the book, and they've gotten something from the book, and they enjoy it. So let me start off by saying thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Well, that's very generous of you to call me a great ring finder. I've just scratched the surface of that, and I find the biggest impediment to my ring, you get very nervous before a ring search. At least I do. You sort of question your abilities in your mind. You know, am I going to really be able to find this thing? But
right, the pressure's on. Don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you are under pressure with the whole thing, I think. But
oh my God! When I first started ring finding, I had no nails left.
Right.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you know, you're questioning your own abilities, and you know, I still have a lot to learn about, you know, defining. You know, because I try to be a good ring finder, but you know, I've had my ones where I couldn't find it, and that's very disappointing.
Well,
and how
we
do you
all
deal with
do,
that
though.
when that happens? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you can't find every single one.
Yeah, and I
Right.
actually talk about that in the book. I actually write about that because it was really important to me to talk about that to people. Like, you're gonna go to a ring find, and you're gonna be, you're gonna be under pressure, and then you're gonna meet the person, and they're gonna be like crying, or they're gonna be like depending so heavily on you to find that ring.
Right,
And
you're the
when you-
hero.
Right.
The weight of the world is on your shoulders.
Oh yeah, you're either
And if you
hero or
don't find
zero.
it, forget it.
Yeah, you're,
I had to go on a search for this fella he was a young boy, probably 16 or something. He was playing basketball in his yard with a friend, and he had a medal commemorating a friend of his that died or something, and it looked like a dog tag, but it was made of gold, and it had a diamond embedded into it. His mother gave it to him. It probably was like, I think, a $3,000, bauble that he had hanging around his neck. And they're playing basketball, and his friend reaches for the ball, and the thing goes flying. And, of course, they search for like hours, and they can't find it. So they call me, and I search all over the place, and I can't find it. And then I'm standing back, and this is where you have to kind of use your intuition and so forth. Where could it have gone? And I look up at the basketball court, and I said, maybe it's on top. So I get a ladder, and I'm looking up there. Nothing. And then I look down at the backboard, and there's a little frame around the backboard, and there's the medal sitting in that frame, edge up. It was just like uncanny that I was able to find it. The people were so grateful. I mean, that was one of my most rewarding finds, I'd say, just because it didn't happen with the metal detector. I had to think it out. And
Right, it taught
talk
you to
about
think outside of the box.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Steve talks about a search he had to do on a hiking trail in the snow or something, and he had to use his intuition like that. Like, where could it be, 'Cause
I
it's not always
remember
gonna be
that
where they say.
video. That was cold.
oh yeah.
Yeah, well, he's in the Great North there.
Look at who we're talking to. That's why you are a great ring finder, Fred, because you stepped outside of the box of what will happen is you'll show up to a ring find and they'll say it's in this area, and just like when
Right.
Fred started, 90% of the time it is not in the area they're telling you it is. But
Exactly.
he went outside of that perimeter in his mind and said, "Hey, what are the chances that this thing could go opposite direction?" Like, I got to admit, checking on the back of the basketball net for that
That's
thing
creative.
was pretty darn
Well,
creative.
I was standing up on the ladder looking over all the top surfaces where it could have landed flat, and I just happened to look down, and I said, could it be anywhere else? And I saw the thing, and I was like, it freaked me out when I saw that. I was like so happy because, your customer or your client or whatever you want to call them is very happy when you find a ring, but I'm just as happy as they are. And handing them to that piece of jewelry is the most satisfying thing. I think that really makes metal detecting that much greater. I find so much enjoyment in it. So it's a wonderful thing. I belong to the TheRingFinders. You'd work outside the ring finder box on your own, I think. You have your own, which is good. I don't do a lot of promotion for myself other than the TheRingFinders. Chris, he talks about making things where you can leave them places like that have your service on them and so forth. And you talk about business cards, and that's something I want to do to kind of, qualify you to people when you hand them your business card. I think it's a good way to do it.
For me, Fred, it's really important that you come across professional when you show up to a ring find. If you're kind of showing up disorganized and you don't really know what you should be saying when you get there, and you just come across, they're going to judge you in the first 10 seconds when you show up. And if you show up looking professional and you know what you're doing and you get right to the job, they're going to be so impressed once you find that ring. And that's what this book does. It'll walk you right through that.
Well, not to mention the fact that
very important.
like you were saying earlier, Fred, you sometimes at first you get really nervous and stuff, and if you're doubting yourself, you definitely don't want to let that show, because like Steve said, they're automatically forming an impression of you in the first 10, 20 seconds or so, and if they see that you're doubting yourself, they're already losing hope.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to lose confidence. I mean,
No, you don't.
I always, when I talk to them, I always say, when I find your ring, I kind of qualify it that I am going to find that ring, because I'm that good. I'm going to find it, and I try to instill that confidence in them so that when I show up, I'm like, okay, let's find this thing. It's just boom, you go right into it, and you're not dealing with I'm so nervous. You don't project that to a person at all.
Right.
You never do that.
That's a very good point. You've got to show up very confident, professional, and get to the task that's before you. And people, I have found personally that when I show up that way, it really affects my gratuity at the end. Like, it really affects it. So that's a good point. I mean, if the people see that you're a professional and they really know what you're doing, that's going to reflect into the gratuity part is something that I still have a difficulty with. I related the story to Josh about a month ago, a ring find that went on, and the girl, it was just, she just didn't seem to be grateful about it. Like you talk about people not giving them the ring until they gave you your money at the end. I mean, hold the swap, I think you call it. Yeah.
I'm holding the ring, but, that to me seemed, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, you've got to feel out the situation, Fred. Like I've actually had situations where, they'll call me and they'll say, listen, I'm going to give you such and such amount of money to find this. I really need it back. And it's like, no problem. And then at the beginning, when I first started ring finding, I'd find the ring and I'd hand it to them. And then as soon as they would get it into their hand, they'd want to negotiate. Hey, do you think you'd take half the money? Right? So I learned.
Yeah, that's
right. Not everybody plays by the same rules, right? And also, I'll be quite honest with you. If there's a young, I remember so many people where you can tell they just don't have any money, and you just feel it when they, and I a lot of the times when I see that, well, every time when I see that, I won't charge them. But if Buddy pulls up in a Land Rover and doesn't seem too cared about it, he just wants me to find it, then he's going to be paying me a gratuity.
Sure. And I had one other question for you. I don't want to keep you. I want other people to be able to call in, but they had a discussion on here. I think it was just Sunday. They were talking about. The fellows were talking about their
the diamond earring.
The stud earring, the diamond stud earring. And you had a wonderful find on the golf course, a diamond stud earring. And I remember that story perfectly. You said you went through your armada of detectors, and the one that you found most effective was the AT Max. I think you said at the time. Pick that sucker up.
Being a Mine Lab pro.
Yes.
I should be saying, oh yeah, it was the Mine Lab that found it. But in the book, I'm honest, and I got to be honest on air. Like, the Mine Lab is a great detector. It's like a golf. They're like golf clubs, right? The detectors are specific for each situation, and in that situation, nothing heard the back that pin of that earring except the Garrett AT Max. And it sounded like you could hear it perfectly.
And Chuck Smalley said that the Equinox was his choice, set on Park 2, I think he said. The settings. I don't know the settings on Equinox at all. I don't own an Equinox. I don't know if you do.
Yeah.
And you do. You use it in the water.
Yeah, he's right. The Equinox would have heard that, but the Equinox wasn't out yet at that time when I found that ring.
Right.
Correct.
That was before. That was pre-Equinox, I remember. That was a great find, though.
I was really glad she told me the value of that earring after I found it.
Right? Yeah, I mean, her reaction was priceless.
$60,000, I think, right?
Well, for the set.
$60,000. The set was worth $60,000. They paid $60,000 for the set, so it was probably worth more because it was over a period of time and it was almost perfect diamonds. Whenever I talk about the value of a ring that I find, I always will just quote what they paid. You know, people will say, "Oh, it's worth $10,000." Well, you really only paid like $4 for it, so it's not worth 10 because you paid $4. So that's what I based it on. And these people paid $62,000 for that set of earrings.
Oh my gosh! And you go golfing with them. That kind of pre-qualifies your customer right there.
Right. That tells you they can afford a gratuity.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, the craziest thing about that call is I was so busy. I was going back and forth to Europe because my daughter lives there, and they had called me before I left, and I was kind of like, they didn't tell me anything other than that she lost an earring at a golf course, and I'm like, an earring at a golf course? I would rather look for a needle in a haystack. It would be easier.
Right.
Yeah. Right? And I said, listen, they hired another ring finder when I was leaving, and I said, no problem, good luck. And then when I came back 2 weeks later, they were like, we haven't found it. My wife's going crazy. They've torn out half the woods where she went in, and could you give it a shot? And I'm like, oh, my God. Sure. But I had no idea it was a $60,000 set at that point.
Well, that was an amazing find. I still remember that whole story when it happened. But you know, you've had tremendous success. I don't know how many rings you found. I forget the number, but it's incredible, like 500 rings or something. But it's, you know, I wish you the most success on your book tour. Sounds like you're going all over the place. You're going through America and also internationally. You're going to be at Detective Owl, I think I read.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Detective Owl on, I believe it's September 14th and 15th in England, and then I'm also going to be in Germany. I just got an invite from. Do you guys know Lee Weber? He's the Bondi treasure hunter.
No, I don't know that.
Yeah, I recognize the name.
Yeah, so he's a detectspert also with MindLab. He actually invited me to a ring find in Amsterdam. A young girl lost a silver ring that her father gave her before she passed away, and we're going to go to Amsterdam and try and find it for her.
Is it
That's going to be an adventure.
A lot of water in Amsterdam.
There's a lot of water.
Yeah, I don't know if it's less in the water or on the land, but they've got a tremendous amount of canals and everything there. So good luck with that one. That sounds very challenging, but you know, I really could recommend your book to anybody interested in the ring finding skill. You've got the experience to transmit to people through this, you know, rather summarized short version, but easy read and very, very great detail in there. So I recommend it to anybody. And you know, I was able to get mine. I just ordered it and I got it July 6th. So I don't know how that happened. You know, I always thought I was pre-ordering it, and all of a sudden it showed up in the mail. I was like, wow.
Nice.
That was fast.
Yeah, I was really surprised you got it so quick. I think you got it before I did.
I know.
Preferred customers.
I know when I saw Fred make the post, it kind of took me back for a minute, too, because I'm like, wait a minute, how did he get a copy of that so fast?
Yeah, like I said, Amazon is very strange, but hey, listen, I can't complain, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Walmart has obviously companies that work for them and their own company, and they will go on to author sites all over the world and look for authors' names and interesting titles and pick up the book for all the Walmarts. And for some reason, they took a look at my book and liked the title, and my book is going into Walmart.
Wow, that's great.
Well, congratulations.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah, I can't.
That's a tremendous amount of exposure.
Yeah, I still can't believe it's going into Walmart.
Well, maybe, I don't know if you're going to be in New Jersey area, but I'll stop in and see you on the book tour if you are, because that's where I am, New Jersey. But I'll get you to sign my edition. If you're in the area. I don't know what your route is.
I would be happy to do that, Fred. I always appreciate when you call and comment on my Facebook. And like I say to everybody, this guy's a great ring finder. And I really appreciate the accolades.
I'm very humbled to have you say that. It's wonderful. I still have a lot to go in that area, but thank you for the enthusiasm and the encouragement. And I'll get off. I'll let Josh interview you more about the book. I just wanted to give you my own appraisal of it and wish you the best of luck with everything. Okay. So. Okay,
I'll send you that $20.
Oh yeah, I thought 50. I thought we agreed on 50. Sorry.
Thanks again, but really appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later. I'll see you, Josh.
Okay. Thanks for the call,
bye.
Fred. Wow. So yeah, I mean, it's from everything I've heard, it's concise, it's straight to the point, not a lot of fluff, just direct and all the information that you need to be, not only successful in the hobby, but successful as a ring finder, if that's, the path you choose to take.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's the great thing about this book too, as you know, Josh, it's the people I'm meeting, like Fred and like all these other people. There's some really great people out there. There's some great detectors that, I love when they're saying to me, I think I'm going to get into this ring finding. It's so interesting.
It is an interesting niche of the hobby, that's for sure.
So yeah. So and again, I appreciate that calling in. That's great. Hey, who do we got on? Let's take a look who we got online here. We got Barb, Mike. We got Janice Carter there. Paul, Nelson. We got Mark Hoover in the club tonight. You see that?
Right. Yeah, we've got Ken in there. I think I saw Mike and Ed and. Well, a couple of mics, actually.
Yep, and then we've got, Janice has actually read the book, and I'm seeing that she liked it. Hey, there's another one, thank God.
Well, see, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah, thank God.
Right. It wasn't all for naught. People are actually enjoying the book. And like Fred said, hopefully they continue to as well, continued success with it. And that's great to hear that, Amazon's got it. It's going to be available through your website, Walmart. What about area dealers?
So, the area dealers can go on to my website, and they can get on my website two ways. They can really try to spell my last name and go on to Zazulyk.com, but in all chances, they're not going to be able to do that. So I made it even easier. You can go on to TheRingFinderBook.com, and it'll lead you to my website.
Oh, well, now, how can you get any easier than that?
I mean, right?
Well, that was very cool then. So there is an option there for dealers who may choose to carry your books as well, a path that they can get in contact with you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't continue that. Yeah, exactly. So they'll go onto my website, and then there's everything about me, about the book, and then for the dealers, there's a button down there that they can hit for dealers, and they'll get hooked up with myself and my assistant actually. And they will just put in their order right there, and we send it off. Like we've already sent off, Jack Summers at Radio World in Toronto bought 100 books. And Ronnie the Ghetto bought, yeah, I know. I was like, thank you, Lord Jesus. This book costed me some money. I got to get some money back. But no, Jack is a really, really great supporter of myself and what I do, and Another guy, Ronnie DeGhetto. I think Ronnie DeGhetto was the very first one to order the books, right? So, so we've got dealers, if any dealers in your areas, if you know them and you want to give them an email or a shout, just say, hey, listen, this book's available. Just go on the guy's website and we can send you down a case, no problem. And obviously the dealers get a very, very good dealer discount.
Nice. Even better for the dealers.
Yeah, very good for the dealers. I've given when you do this, especially on Amazon, you have a couple options to give the dealer discount, and I gave the most you could give on a dealer discount for our dealers. So because I really want that book out there, I want it in the metal detecting places. So when people walk in and they decide they want to, you walk into a metal detecting place as a newbie, and you're like, oh man, I want to buy that detector, but how am I going to justify it when I go home with my wife? Well, you can grab the TheRingFinder book and say, hey honey, I bought this detector, and I also bought this book that says I can make more money than I paid for the detector. That's a little bit better way to walk in the door, wouldn't you say, Josh?
Right. I'll be able to use this knowledge and find you a nice ring to wear.
Yep. And make a little scratch on the side.
And that's never a bad thing, especially in the technological race that we're in. We're all the time seeing new equipment come out. If you can pay for it that way, hey, you're doing all right.
Yeah, the way I see it is it's win-win. Like, I really wrote the book to be like, okay, like I want to put myself in the shoes of somebody that's just like that. Or, they're a detectorist and they want to kind of take a different avenue. So that's what I wanted to be able to read back, when I started, and now it's out for people to read it. And it's, like young people can read it, no problem. It's meant for everybody. Anybody that wants to get into it, it's an easy read, and it gets right to the point. So, yeah, I think this one was a good one.
That's another good question, too, is how many times did you, because you said yourself, you're wanting to write this in the perspective that it's easy to read. There's not a lot of stuff to cut through. It's just direct and to the point and has all the information in there. And I'm sure you probably found yourself going back a few times, maybe reading over things and going, no, this just isn't going to work.
Like months and months and evenings and all-nighters. Trust me. I can recite this book from beginning to end. I've read it so many times.
Right. But,
yeah, and I have a really, really great editor that worked with me. And, you really want to have a book flow when you're reading it. You don't want it to be choppy. You don't want it to kind of be all over the place. You want it to be really concise. And sometimes when you're writing, you'll just kind of go off on tangents. And it was great because my editor would be like, whoa there, big guy. Let's just kind of pull back here a bit.
Right, you're getting kind of off track.
You're getting off track, yeah. So she was great for keeping the little choo-choo train on the tracks.
Nice. So there was a lot of kind of back and forth there to get to the end result that the consumers get to see.
Oh, probably 10 months of it.
Wow. So that really does make it a labor of love, so to speak.
Oh, I spent thousands of hours on this book. Oh, I spent a lot of time on this book.
Right. Not to mention making sure pictures and diagrams were correct or good quality, even so far as hiring a artist.
Yep. I hired a wonderful artist, and it was really interesting because my equipment, as you know, is I hate to use the word state of the art, but my equipment is really, really good because, I have great friends out there like the Anderson boys at Anderson Detector Shops.
Oh, yeah.
Like my equipment has that equipment on it, this aftermarket high-end shafts, and I've got all this different headphones. And so when I was getting the diagrams done, I was thinking to myself, there is not any book out there that has the Minelab Equinox with the Anderson dive shaft on it ever.
That's a good point.
It was really cool. It was very cool when I was getting these diagrams back, and I was like, oh my God, that just rocks. I love it.
But there again, I'm sure that was some trial and error and time and effort as well.
Oh yeah, because I talk about even little things, Josh, like the way to coil, to strap your coil on your shaft, right? There's different ways to put that coil wire on the shaft, and if you don't put it high enough up, it's going to affect the machine greatly. So, when you're doing a diagram, and the diagram comes and the coil's going the wrong way, you're like, oh my God, we've got to do this diagram all over again because we've done the cable is going the wrong way. So
right.
That happened a few times, and I was very, very OCD about this thing. I wanted it to be perfect.
Well, but you have to be, though, too. I mean, you can't be publishing a book and happen to look and go, oh my God, we've got to redo this. You put my coil on backwards. They're going to laugh at me.
Yeah, because I know what kind of gun I would be under with all the detectors out there. Once they got the book, they'd be like, what's this? This is totally wrong. So I have to admit, I was like really, really adamant about that because it had to be perfect. So I think we did, in the end, after all those months when we thought it was perfect, we still had to go through 6 edits. And I remember on the final edit, we were like, there's just no way in the world we've missed anything. And sure enough, at the end of the book, there was a "the" with 2 E's. And we're like, you gotta be kidding me. How in the world did that thing get through?
Right? Was that one of those kind of situations where you're going, oh, I got to read this whole thing again?
Yep, exactly. Because when you find that, you're like, what else did I miss? But finally we got to the point where everybody read it, and they're like, nope, it's good.
Well,
so if you're buying this book, trust me, it has been blood, sweat, and tears. You are going to get your money's worth when you get this book. I promise you 100%.
Well, that's very good to hear because I know myself in the past, there have been different books that I have purchased that were written by hunters, for hunters, well-known people in the hobby. And then you're reading the book and you're going, what is this? They couldn't afford spell checker?
Yeah, that was my biggest thing is that, I've got a background in English, but I also know that I'm very capable of missing things. So I hired probably one of the best editors out there. And because of that reason, Josh, because I would read books that guys would put out and women, and you're like, oh my God, like this person is like so well known. They're a great detectorist, but they are certainly not a good writer or an editor because they have missed so much stuff. It's crazy.
Right. And at that point, the damage is done.
Yeah. You've lost me. When I read something and I see that, it's like, oh, it just cheapens the book. It's like, wow, I spent my hard-earned money on this book and you couldn't fix the.
Right, yeah, like, man, I should have got a 50% discount due to spelling errors.
Well, I'm really, now I'm freaking paranoid. I'm really hoping I didn't miss anything. I'm going to have to read the damn book. I'm going to have to read the damn book tonight.
Right, going, great, now I got to go read it again just to make sure, because... just got this nagging at the back of my mind going, uh-oh, did I miss something? Could I have?
Yeah. But like I say, we spent probably 2 or 3 months of just rereading it, going back and forth. I had ARC readers. I had all kinds of different people involved to go through that process. So by the time it got into the actual consumer's hand, they were getting a very high quality book.
Good. Very good. And you mentioned that there were a number of pictures of your finds in there as well. Were those just photos that you had taken? Because, I mean, you do a very good job with your photos. Or did you hire a photographer for that? Or how did that all pan out for you?
It was interesting because I was worried about that. And the publisher had asked me, do you mind just sending me a few examples of your pictures? And it was hilarious because when they got them, they emailed me back and they said, "Would you be interested in a job?" So it was right. It was a nice compliment.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. So are these color images or just black and white? I would imagine color.
Oh, buddy, come on.
Come on. You can't portray gold without color.
Buddy, it's just like I said, diving off that diving board. Once you go, you got to go all the way.
Right.
If
it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
That's right. We got full color.
Nice. And I'm sure there's probably a few happy smiles in there from ring returns.
Well, you're going to find out because I'm sending you a book as soon as you send me your address.
Well, yeah, I guess we certainly don't want to give out too much information of what's in the book.
Well, listen, this is the thing, Josh, is everybody knows how famous you are, but I just can't put on Josh Kimmel, Ohio. It's not going to get you.
Not with
super famous.
Yeah, not with our mail service, believe me. I often wonder how much mail we miss because we get mail for 3 different households somehow, and half the time nobody ever comes looking for their stuff. I don't even know how it gets here. I think the mailman only watched about half of Sesame Street episodes because they only got the number part down, not the letters.
Exactly.
But that's the way it goes.
Yeah, so anyways, I'm really excited about the book. Once you get your book, I'm looking forward to you getting your feedback on it. I know you're a great detectorist, and you'll give me an honest review of it. And I really believe that if anybody buys it, they'll really enjoy the book. I keep hearing great things about it, so I'm very, very, very appreciative of that.
Well, and I don't see how they couldn't like it to begin with. I mean, reading some of your other articles and things of that nature, speaking to you in person and everything, you just, how could they not like the book?
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
So, when does because you had made a post yesterday or the day before, I think it was, I had shared it, announcing that you were going to be beginning your, international tour soon as far as your books. When does that all start for you?
It's going to start in a few weeks. I'm starting here in Canada at Radio World, with Jack Summers. We're going to do a book signing there, and, we got a couple other things lined up for that event that it's going to be really exciting. I'm actually really excited about that. And then I'm going to do a few stops in the States, as I had mentioned. And it's great because I got people private messaging me saying, hey, listen, would you be interested in coming here? So, and then from there, I'm heading again to Europe. My daughter lives in Germany with her husband, and I have been invited to a few events in Germany, Austria. I'm hoping to get down to Italy. I'm definitely going to be going to Amsterdam, and then I'm going to be flying over to Detective Hall.
That's a lot of travel in your future.
I know. I got to pack light.
Right, yeah. How are you going to find time to hunt for rings while you're there?
Buddy, I am ready at every single moment to hunt rings. Listen to this. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Got the CTX and the Equinox.
That's a gold ring, buddy. That's what we're going after.
The low-tone hunting.
Yeah, I've traveled enough now to know kind of how to. I think I read an article. I think I wrote an article about this in American Digger magazine about traveling with your equipment and how to pack light. And I've really become a little bit of a master at this because I've done it so much. So, I mean, when I'm traveling, I've got to bring all my books. I got to bring my detector, and when I'm going to Europe, I got to bring my dive equipment because I'm diving in Amsterdam.
Right. Man, you're going to have a lot of bags to keep track of.
I am, but what an exciting trip. I'm going to meet so many great people.
Absolutely, I would have to agree, and you're going to get so many great pictures. The photos and videos that you usually get of the scenery that you post up are always very, very well done.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. So are we already at the end?
I think we're probably close enough because it sounds like you got some packing to do.
I do. Oh, man. Hey, listen, as always, you're one of my favorite guys. You're one of my favorite detectorists. Really one heck of a guy. I really appreciate our friendship, buddy. And all the people that listen in on your podcast all the time. I know these guys love you. You do such a great job. And there's such a high-quality group of detectors that listen. It's always an honor to be on your program.
Well, certainly appreciated, and I guess in terms of addresses, you're going to have to get me yours too, because we're going to make sure to get a little package out to you, courtesy of DETECTEES and Beyond Sight and Sound.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Hey, listen, why don't we do something special tonight?
All right.
Why don't we do a little raffle and give away one of my books to somebody?
Oh, okay. Well, how would you like to do that?
Well, since you're the podcast master, what's the best way to do it?
Oh, I don't know. Since you got a lot of packing to do, maybe we should carry it over to the page after the show. That way you can check in on it yourself and see how it's going for you.
Okay, why don't we get a bunch of people to message into the page, and then we'll do a random number. We'll be fair, and we'll pick a winner, and they'll get a free copy of my book, TheRingFinder.
I'm not seeing a downside there.
In fact, you know what? We'll send them a signed copy.
Uh-oh. Well, now that's just the icing on the top.
There you go. There you go.
That's the bonus. Well then, okay. I guess I'll have to get a post up on the page here after the show, and we'll get that thing rolling for everybody for you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I'd be more than happy to do that. Like I say, your podcast is one of my favorite out there, and I'd love to do that for some of the listeners.
Yeah, we'll put a post up on the Beyond Sight and Sound page, a photo of your book, and we can just have them comment there to get themselves entered and leave it run for a bit, and then randomly select one of those lucky people to win a copy of your book.
That sounds amazing. I'm reading some of the comments on the page. Like, be fair, as long as I win, it's okay.
Right, that sounds like something Barb would put in.
Yeah, I think it was Mike. Yeah, so we will definitely be fair.
Yeah, nice. Well then, I guess, sounds like maybe we've both got some things to do, so hang in there with me for a few minutes, Steve. We'll roll the music and get on out of here.
Okay, buddy. Thanks again.
For everyone else, if you enjoyed the show, make sure and throw us a like. You can follow us here on Spreaker, the Beyond Sight and Sound page on Facebook, Beyond Sight and Sound group on Facebook, Dirt Pirates, Ohio Relic Hunter, All Metal Militia. The list just goes on and on and on. And while you're online, check out Zazulyk.com. The link's in the description. Don't worry, you don't have to try and spell it. And I know it's in the chat as well. And be sure and check out the link for his book over at Amazon as well if you're not lucky enough to win a copy yourself. Until the next time we're going to roll, we'll see everyone on the pages. Have a wonderful evening, folks.